Okay, everyone. Stopped and restarted the stream. Was having some issues with trying to upload the video, but hey, should be good now. I don't know why I'm getting this down here. Not sure why that keeps. Why so many dropped frames? I'm doing well, Gruz. How are you doing? Let's go ahead and give Tom a call. See if he's ready. I am getting ready to fly out to Taiwan tomorrow. So it's tomorrow morning. So there will be no stream Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Monday. I might stream on Tuesday. We'll see. I'll probably just kind of tune in. I get back that day. Hey, Clifton. So I will. Yeah, you know what? I get back on Monday, but I think we'll stream on Tuesday. We probably won't do much work. We'll just kind of hang out for a bit. Oh, you know what? Let me post on Twitter. Let everyone know we are now live. Hold on a second, guys. I am tweeting. I'll be right with you all in just a bit. Streams are manifolded. Done your monthly Game Jam prototype. Free to do anything. Being able to do anything is good. Well, congratulations, Gruz. Feel free to tell us if you want to post a link to your game. Let us know what you worked on. That would be cool. No pressure, of course. So I apologize just in case my computer freezes. It's been happening for a while. I'm not sure what is going on there. But it happens sometimes. I'm calling Tom now. Ooh, that's loud. Hey, Tom.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah. Oh, by the way, guys, I got Tom a new mic. So you guys are hearing some good quality audio. How are you today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Dude, the audio is coming out very, very well.
That's good. I know.
Yes.
I was testing it earlier. I know if I type, it's kind of
Oh yeah,
loud.
Yeah. It's a little loud. It picks up. You got a mechanical keyboard?
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
same
way it's
here.
angled, I don't know if it just transfers to the desk or something, but
Yeah. Well, I think people actually like that typing sound. It's comforting.
oh yeah, I like it.
And hello, Matthew Vandervander. So, Pretoria 1978. Yeah, so this is going to be a bit of, every time you join my stream, you receive a Humble Bundle email. Alright, so let's go over... Alright, I am having some trouble with the frame rate of the stream. Not sure what's happening today, but, so we'll see how this goes. So, you might not be able to do screen share. Alright, let's talk about... Okay, so we are currently working on the save system.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, And I know you talked about it yesterday, but maybe we can just go over for the viewers kind of the status of that.
It's getting there.
Okay,
There's definitely
yeah.
like a bunch of little bugs to work out and little special cases. Like the broad strokes of it are in there. So cubes are the main thing in the game, and those are all working. I believe I have double gravity cubes working correctly. It should be pretty easy, but I still need to do like the dark gravity cube, stuff like that. I was waiting till I got everything else totally sorted, then I would do those because it would be, very similar. You don't make bugs in two places and fix them later. You just, do it once.
By the way, thanks for the follow, 69. I missed the username, but that was a really long one. Anyway, so you said the boxes. Sorry. So the boxes are set. It's the trees.
Yeah, some of the stuff with the trees needs to be fixed still. I was taking a small break from that today because I'm looking at it so much.
Oh, yeah.
So I was going through and just hitting some outstanding bugs that are annoying. So I reworked, to move away from the save stuff, I reworked some of the player movement and like reorganized that a bit.
Yeah,
so
okay.
All the player rotation is, well, it's not like totally different than it used to be in the code, but
Right.
it's a different approach, which I believe fixes the rotation issue we were having before. There was one spot in the code that was like a little suspicious, like in order to get the gravity rotation working, there was like your quaternion rotation was converted to an Euler angle, and that was clamped to ints, and then the ints were measured to see which rotation you had. It was like, you look at it and it didn't feel safe.
Right.
So I got rid of all of that. And instead, I went for a simpler approach. It's a little easier for me to think about it this way, where the player consists of 3 parented objects, essentially. There's the root object, which orients itself based on the gravity. So it will rotate to the wall, and then everything underneath that has its local position. Its local position as if the world had rotated, not it, before
Okay.
you had to worry about both.
Okay.
And then there's an object inside there that I called body, which handles the rotation around the y-axis
Got it.
relative. So that's looking left and right.
Right.
And then under that is the camera, which rotates up and down.
Okay. So.
And that seemed to fix all the rotation issues I was having.
Okay, so this is just for people who are tuning in that aren't familiar. Basically, we were having this bug where all of a sudden you'd be walking and then you would look like this, where the gravity is on your right, and Tom implemented this where we could see, like on the PS4, we can pull this up through some key shortcuts, and we noticed that the rotation was the body rotation. And I think the that line you pointed out that was turning it into Euler and clamping, that was probably the issue.
Yeah, it was a bit gross looking at it. Like, I didn't really trust it because you run into a bunch of like float conversions and rounding and all this stuff that
Right.
it just felt like
Yeah.
you could have issues.
That's probably something I implemented like in the first 4 months of working on this game, so...
Probably. I mean, you would have had to because it's crucial to make the character work.
Alright, so we took care of that quaternion bug. We'll put this here for now, and I guess when I come back I will take a look at it. And thank you for the host major idea. Steam has finished downloading The Sims 3. My shame.
Nice.
Okay, so we got the quaternion. Well, we'll have to see that, but I think that's the fix.
Yeah, I'd like to test it on PS4, and because it seemed to happen there more often. But I'm pretty confident this should fix it.
Okay, I mean, it sounds like the right thing, and right. And so save system, it's kind of just going. What's tricky about the save system is we've got to set up everything for I got Tom the mic, but yeah, people are commenting your audio actually sounds better than mine.
Oh, nice.
Um,
Yeah, am I coming in loud enough?
yeah, it's perfect.
Awesome.
So right, the safe system, what's tricky is you gotta set it up for each object, like the states and so on, and the whole world is seamless and you can take stuff from one place to another, so it gets really tricky. Okay, so now just I guess with the rest of the week, the safe system is just sort of on and off, kind of continuously thing there.
Yeah. I also just the issue we had with the prompts always coming up.
Yes.
I set it up so that now prompts will only happen if you are starting the game from the start
Oh,
screen.
thank God, yes.
So if you are testing the editor and want to record anything, so long as you
Yeah.
don't start from the start screen, they don't turn on.
Yeah, so this is the, we have the button prompts that's like R2 to rotate, X to press, and we had, originally it was like every time you went into the game, it would just have that there, and it was really annoying, because if I try to record video footage, I don't want the prompt come up, but I'd have to like rotate once, pick up an object once, so this is just, it only happens when you start the game, which is the only time we need it.
Yeah, otherwise it's just kind of in the way.
Yeah, it's just annoying. So we got rid of that. So, yeah, beam generator, not super pressing.
I was looking at that just now, actually.
Oh yeah.
It's interesting. So we're using a mesh creator utility to actually do the mesh combine. So I think that might need to get reworked a little bit.
Oh god.
Or,
Okay.
I mean, I had it working where it's two meshes, like two separate game objects with meshes,
Yeah.
just parented, and that was fine. But I don't know if that'll work with the existing animation.
Yeah, I think David had it where it was one, and then you could have both, and it just saved, I guess, some. That kind of kept the number of objects low. I mean, it's not that bad, but it also made it so like when it extended it correctly, like the
Sure.
way it stretched. So that's kind of the key thing. I really think it's just a matter of getting that mesh. We have these laser beams. It's one mesh, but the inside is this illuminated material. The outside is transparent material. Somehow, nothing changed the code, but something. I don't even know where the change happened, but now, yeah.
I looked at both places in the mesh utility and in the beam generator, and
Yeah.
nothing has changed like this year, basically. You know what I mean? It's been months since it's been touched.
Yeah.
But I know the error I'm getting is it's a warning because it's not creating sub meshes correctly. So it's taking
Okay.
both meshes and making it one
Yeah.
when it needs to be essentially like two lists of verts
Okay.
as the mesh. So I need to,
I see.
because each list would be its own material. Could reference those.
That sounds like the key thing. So okay, so actually
Yeah.
let's get rid of this prompt should only show up for opening level. And so okay. So the beam generator, we got the save system. What else is there to work on? I guess the save system would sort of tie into the water.
Yeah, that'll probably be part of that.
And then let's do the audio visual
Okay.
stuff. Making sure it's like
We have the. Do we want to put in the mechanic where you can, based on like your input, it's changing the animation speed?
yeah. Let's put some of that in just to kind of play around with it.
Mm-hmm.
But the key there, the more important part is the X. Holding down any button other than the joysticks would collapse.
Okay.
And collapse the world in. And now on keyboard and mouse, I think we would do it so it's like if it's E or left mouse button.
Yeah. Like E, left mouse, maybe space, whatever the other inputs are.
Space, yeah, right stick, yeah. But but not WSD because those would be part of the controls.
Yeah, you wouldn't want that.
So yeah, let's I mean that should be like a vignette, so coming in from the outside, and if you let go, it fades out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
the vignette is like creeping in.
Yeah, as you
While it's
hold
held
it,
down.
and then like once you, if it passes the like
Some threshold.
some threshold, it just closes in all the way. But if at the beginning you should happen enough, and let's take several seconds, so it's not like you have to realize you got to hold it down for a lot longer to have it collapse, and not just
Yeah.
like you hit it and you have the world go away.
Sure.
Okay, so I think that should be. I think the interlock. This is done. We can get rid of this interlockable line thing. All right, when we come back, we'll work on the sphere pipe mechanic and the color changing. Does this so? The save system, the beam generator, the audio visual scene, and what else was that last thing we talked about?
Let me think.
Generator, save system.
The water stuff.
Oh yeah, the water stuff. I think that should be good for this week.
Yeah. What day are you leaving?
Tomorrow.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, like tomorrow morning or? Are you...
Tomorrow morning. Yeah.
Oh shoot! I thought it was. All right, never mind then.
Yeah, it seemed like a long time away, but
Yeah, it's like
No,
you just got back.
yeah, now all of a sudden it's here. But after this, no more trips. But this should be enough. I mean, I'll have my laptop with me, so I can always check in on stuff. And yeah, because with E3 I had to bring the Alienware, so I didn't actually have my work laptop. But this time I will.
Okay.
So I can pull if it's like minor stuff. If you want me to just kind of check in on things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but this should be enough for this week, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so.
Yeah. I mean, if
Yeah,
for
for
some
now.
reason any of it is done, I think starting to do like camera ease in,
Oh yeah, the
Yeah.
actual like the game feel.
making
The
that feel
player,
better. Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for tuning in. Yeah, the audio sounds great.
That's good. Yeah, I was playing with it. It seems I actually have it kind of far from me too, which is nice.
Yeah. Yeah, it's coming in really, really clear. It's very nice, and there's like no breathing sounds at all.
much better than last time.
Yeah. Right. Well, I will talk to you later. I'm going to do a dry run of the art evolution talk.
Oh sure.
All right, Tom. I'll see you around.
Yeah, later.
See you. Okay. Yeah. So the mic I got, Tom, and what is it? It's the Snowball Ice mic. Blue. I got Tom. Is it the let's see if I can get it. Yeah, so it's this one. It's like it's slightly cheaper than the Snowball. It was like $50 on Amazon, but anyway, I think it's working really well. So yeah, $50 if you guys want to do some streams or whatever. You want to have really good audio, just because if you don't, like, it gets really distracting. But audio is great, awesome. So it's like Tom is whispering in our ears. Yeah, that is color grading. By the way, hello, Jay Tanako, Crap Nerd. Welcome. I think both of you, I'm seeing you guys for the first time here. Yes, that was a Sims 3. So actually, today's talk is not that bad. So anyway, we're kind of, we'll start with here. Hold on, let me move this out of the way, get some. So, evolutionary art style. I'm William Cheer. A bit about myself. I used to work at the so my background's in physics. I worked at the Istituto Nazionale di Fisica Nucleare, National Institute of Nuclear Physics in Italy. I was only there for a summer, and I had a very, very tiny part in a very, very big operation, and went into installation art a bit afterwards, where I was doing these kind of large-scale installations with balloons. And now I am working on Manifold Garden. I've been working on this game for the last 3.5 years. So, so this game, what is Manifold Garden? First-person exploration puzzle game with impossible geometry, unusual physics, and I think I'm gonna do mind bending. I like that word better. So. Yeah, well, so this one's the intro is very much the same, and I'm kind of just going over it. I figured like some people haven't watched that GDC talk. This is going to be a lot more informal, also because it's not. Yes, Crapner, that is what we saw. Yeah, someone pointed out the way I was doing, like like a linear translation or something. It's actually the same intro, but I figure not everyone's seen my GDC talk. But this time around, I actually have an hour as opposed to half an hour. So that GDC talk, I had to be like... oh, one Mr. Beam, thank you for the host. One Mr. Beam is the creator of Sound Dodger and Choice Chamber. I'm really excited for Impossible Dreams, other than rapping. I've got my hands full with rapping. So the game is basically a metaphor for the last 400 years of physics, because you start off learning gravity, kind of like Newton, and then by the time sort of you do more experiments, learn more about the world, and then you are thinking about the shape of the universe itself. And so the inspiration for this actually came from this scene in Inception. That is the wrong... Okay, it's showing up on my other monitor, so... so where they fold Paris in half, start walking up the wall, changing gravity, and was kind of thinking, like, you know, what happens if he drops his wallet? Does it fall in the new direction, or does it fall in the old direction? Like, you know, what if he were to give his wallet to someone else? So let me just show some quick footage of the gameplay. Ooh, that's very loud. So you can see you can change gravity. So we've got this one puzzle here. We need to... You can only interact with red objects when you're in the red gravity. So you're trying to get this red box up this to that higher platform, but it's too high. So what we can do is we can switch into the yellow gravity, use the yellow box as a shelf, and then when we go back to red, we can place it up there. And that then kind of turn back around here and pick up the box from here. Hey, first book, hello. So, and now what you learn is that like these boxes are fruit that grow on trees. So we have like 4 puzzles at the beginning to kind of introduce you to the basic mechanics, and then once you get outside, that's where the game actually takes place. So one thing you'll notice is you've got this room, that laser beam, and this box, right? And when you fall off the world, instead of killing you or respawning, fading the screen to black, the world actually wraps around on itself, so you can land back where you started. And what's really important in this game is that the physics is consistent, both for players and objects. Well, I will actually talk about that, because the art style sort of evolved alongside the mechanics. So when I drop a box off, you can actually see it will come back down from above. Like, you can see that tiny speck there. And yes, I am on Windows 7. That is correct, Mokismo. So, anyway, the game kind of starts from there, and then we evolve. So this is later. I just want to show you guys kind of some of the footage near the later parts of the game. So this is the kind of level and the complexity with architecture that you'd see at the 5-6 hour mark. In a space-time hallway. Alright, so that's intro to the game. So now let's talk about the art style, because it did not always look like this. So the beginning. So basically, like I mentioned, I used to be an installation artist, and I had gotten typecast as the balloon guy. Basically, and oh, you know what? That reminds me. I should do. I should have some of the images from my portfolio here. So this is the very first piece I did. This is back in April 2009. And you can notice, pay attention to the structures here. Like, look at how messy that is and rough. And compare that to a piece I did about three years later. And if you look at it, you can see how clean, like, the structures are. It's like, it's really, you know, so actually that reminds me, I should have some of these pieces here. Like, look at how kind of even all of that is. But the problem with the balloons, like, it got, you know, I got a lot of attention from it. But the problem with the balloons was that nobody could tell. Yep, that was the wacky, wonderful, wacky world of, you know, they actually have balloon conventions like GDC, but for balloon twisting, it's called Twist and Shout. It's actually pretty crazy. Hey, Salos Kulika, will you ever be able to see yourself? No, because I don't want you to have a character. So actually, that reminds me, I should put some. So, it got me a lot of attention, but it was a double-edged sword because everybody just called me the balloon guy, and I couldn't really break out of that role. And so, but somebody showed me some of the games by that game company. Oh, so you know what? I gotta have games show games from that game company, Tale of Tales, and Indie Game the Movie. So a friend of mine showed me Indie Game the Movie. He was actually a backer, and watching that made me think that indie games was like a really interesting medium to work in. So I downloaded Steam, and I had because I was like, where do I buy games? And I had this game in my library because it turned out a year ago when Portal 2 was coming out, Valve was giving away Portal 1 for free, and I signed up for it because at the place I was working at the time, this guy was really big into video games, and he was like, you should sign up, and I did. I never got around to playing it, but I downloaded Steam, and I had Portal in the library, so I played that. Well, actually, I didn't think it looked easy, but the way Jonathan Blow talked about game development made it look like a really wonderful medium. So you'll notice in the talk, I'm going to put the date down here, and you can kind of see how that kind of evolved. So I got Unity, and I played around with it one weekend, during 4-day Thanksgiving weekend. And you can see this is very much a Portal clone, right? Like, I'm going for kind of this tile pattern, except none of this made sense. Like, this looks consistent, and this is just like a bathroom tile, concrete. I don't even know what this is. Like a wooden box from some Magic set, weird particle systems. And in this version, the world rotated around. Actually, that reminds me also, I need to get the video. So, now I'm show early Okay, so here is this really early stuff that I was talking about. So, I'm gonna take this off. So you can see in this one, it had a really interesting mechanic. So the very first way I did this was that this is so bad. Look at this. This is actually a slightly later version, but it had it would kind of have the controls come up. Nobody reads this stuff, by the way, so don't do stuff like this. So the idea was you had to like hold down the left button, and then this thing would come up, and then you drag it in different directions to rotate. So it was the world rotating, not the player. So I need to download this video. So you see that? But it was very awkward, and the thing was, it was like, why would you want to rotate? Like the only time I noticed that the only time you really rotated was the forward rotation, and I think I added the side ones just so you can do this, like see the world change, but it was really difficult to navigate. Hey, Alex DLC. So I am currently preparing a talk for a Type A Game Developers Forum about the art style evolution of Manifold Garden. So I'm just kind of like doing a dry run. So I don't know if you guys noticed, there was that like exit cam that showed up, and so I'm kind of just talking about preparing that, and then like doing a practice run, and then seeing where I need to tweak the presentation. So you can see in this one, I'm looking at this, and I got to turn forward, right? Like, otherwise I fall, I hit the electric field. So this was that was like, this is a very execution-based puzzle. Like, there's no, like, you go in and it's like, oh, I see what I got to do. I just have to time it like that. I think this was designed specifically to force you to. Of course, the other thing you could do, hey, renderling, was with this one you could just rotate forward and fall straight down. Oh, look at this. I have this elevator, and I think it just opened. Man, this game looks so fucking bad. Look at that. So I spent like 3 months working on this, and I remember this was a really interesting level. I showed it to Kevin Zune. He's the creative director at Octodad. So the idea was you had to collect these things. It was like this collectathon, and now you had to rotate on this, but you had to wait until that was facing you to land down, and then you got to wait for that to face you again to land down. Yeah, I will stop showing this if people are feeling sick. But and Zune was like, you should just kill me when you miss, because otherwise you had to like walk along the wall and get around. It just was Counted Gnome 183. Well, you know, it's not that kind of game, so it's really like a zen, calming exploration. It was not fun. It was not fun, and there were a lot of problems with it. So, see, this is an even earlier version before I even had the graphic, and it was just like, so let me actually get some notes. Footage, and we're gonna try to wrap this up around like 4:20. Are my PC specs? I had one. 1 second. I forget what the command is. It is PC specs. What the hell? Weird. guess Nightbot is... Nightbot isn't working today, unfortunately. Oh, there we go. Let me screenshot one. Yeah, I've kept over like 10,000 screenshots. Hey, first book. Hello. I really liked him. Yeah, that was based on Inception's hallway scene. Time to blaze it, blaze it. So, this other house. So this was like a mechanic. You had to like drag one of these and move it around. I wonder if this actually has some gameplay proto footage. So, there was all right. So this was based on. If you've played that game Rush Hour, so you had to like get the red block to touch the red, the red plate. So you could like click on any of these and move it around. So you see, it's basically 3D Rush Hour. And then you move that. I mean, even this video, like, I'm noticing is so terrible, right? So you have to, like, move that around and then move this in. And this led to something really interesting, because here, this was the one puzzle that was good. I had, like, 10 puzzles. This is the one that worked well. Hey, Snow State. How you doing after E3? So you put this box on the button. Like, look at that. Look at this. Like, look at, first of all, that button is so ugly, and the physics. And notice what would happen, right? Because once I put the box on the button, I could no longer rotate. So you actually had to use this to form a bridge, and to exit. So that was the one puzzle that got Kevin thinking. But again, I changed it instead of the colorful stuff to this color, but it had it took him a really long time to figure out he could even interact with these. So this is the Rush Hour game I was telling you guys about. Right, you're basically got to slide these cars around to get the red one out. So I worked on the game for 4 months, did the Octodad playtest, and it was a disaster, so I went back to the drawing board. So we started off with this version, and this time around I decided I am not going to worry about the art style at all, because I remember the previous one I would spend like an entire afternoon trying to find the right wood texture. That was just the wrong way to use the time. So I was like, okay, I'm going to start with very basics, and instead of the room rotating, I'm going to have the player rotate. And that's going to have like different objects are going to be active depending on which orientation you're in. So you can see everything that's white is frozen. Only the colored objects are active. Right? So you can see like, okay, now these are frozen, red is active. And you can see like at this point there was still a lot of physics going on. You had like these balls that you could roll down ramps. And are you sure it all fits in a 1 hour discussion? We'll see. I mean, this is the test, Praetorian. And it allowed for some really interesting kind of visuals because of sort of different orientations of objects. However, this caused a lot of problems. And you know what? So this is... Actually, you know what? I can go ahead and just delete... Right, so... Well, no, this is good. So, like, blue objects fall this way. Actually, you know what? This should come up here before the drawing board. Yeah. Explain. So you can see by the time, like... So after a while, I decided the physics wasn't very good. Like, it just didn't make sense to have to, like, stack boxes multiple times and deal with them falling over. So you can see, like, everything is starting to get aligned to a grid. And some players were asking, they had a really hard time seeing which direction was which. So what I did was I added and they said they wanted all the walls colored. And I wish I had a screenshot of that, but it looked really terrible. It looked like Easter. So what I did was I realized the only one you really needed to know was the floor. So I colored that blue. I think this was like a little earlier before that, but you can see I'm starting to move away from buttons to these color panels. And the reason is that with the button, you can put any box on it, but with this, it says like you need a blue box. Over time, I'm starting to get kind of these lines to go from the switch to the door so you can see what you're powering up. Well, I'm not worrying about the art cell at the beginning. Right? And you can see when it's so frozen, it would stay with the white color. So we're starting to improve on this, and you can see I'm sort of trying to go for more complicated architecture at this point. Like up until here, everything's inside boxes. This is inside a room that there's like a corner there. I don't know if you can see it very well, but basically everything was inside rooms. And now I'm starting to kind of explore different architecture, but it's not quite working well. And at this time, I'm just trying to capture the complexity in Escher's visuals. Kind of these really early attempts at that. And this was a very interesting level because this involved you falling for 10 minutes. Now you couldn't touch the side because it didn't. I put this like these electric fields because it didn't want you walking on the side, so you had to fall, and it took about 10 minutes to fall, and it was very terribly designed. So you can see kind of at this stage, I knew I had some interesting puzzles, but a lot of them were very heavily Portal inspired. Puzzles inside a large room with kind of elements that can kill you, with a lot of like obstacles that you get through, and like timing based elements. So this was a box that would move back and forth. And at this point I'm still trying to figure out, I'm still not focusing on the art style at all. It's basically like I'm only adding items, I'm only adding enough material to convey information. Hey Jacket, how you doing? And you can see at this point I've started using Pro Builder, and you can notice everything is like better aligned. The grid is what gives it away. And this is also letting me create more complex architecture. You can kind of see I'm going for but again, this whole thing is inside one giant room, because I still was not comfortable with letting players go outside. But this caused a lot of problems because it meant like it was just this giant space that was confusing to navigate in. Another thing I added was players kept complaining that when you change gravity, you couldn't see the different colored objects, right? So right now I'm in orange, but they couldn't tell what color these were. They wanted to know, so I switched and I showed them they were blue. Right? So you can see that there's like a slight variation. It's now a lighter blue with the grid. Actually, this is really bad because I'm actually not sure which one is active. I mean, I know the orange one is active because I remember what I did, but if you were just coming into this picture, it's like if you were just looking at this, it's not really clear which is the one you're supposed to be working with. Game Lab show. Oh, wonderful. That's always a lot, really busy. Right, and I'm okay. And the other thing was also at this point we started to add shadows. So you can see for a long time, it's like basically, so about 4 months, we're not adding any of that. At this point, I start experimenting with outside areas. And the reason for this was actually still mechanics driven, in that part of it was I didn't want other surfaces here, like having other surfaces would break this puzzle. So this was an interesting puzzle in that it required there to be not to be walls around it. Sort of experimenting more with outside, and again, architecture kind of coming in. So it was sort of at this point I was having, in terms of communicating mechanics to the player, a lot of those basic elements were there. If we take a look at this again, you can see, okay, so the floor is colored, you know, the boxes change color depending on whether they're active or not, the switches have lines leading to the door. You can play the entire game with it looking like this. Like, it doesn't look great, but all the information you need is there and won't confuse you. So at this point, I started kind of experimenting more with architecture. This is This is inspired by the works of Tadao Ando. He's a Japanese architect, one of my favorite architects. So you can see this building is actually based on his the building of his called the 4x4 house. I've gotten rid of some of this because a lot of them just don't work well when you translate them directly into the game. You have to make changes to make it work in a... Like, you can't just take a building that works in real life and bring it into a game and expect it to work. It's not... They're really very different ways of designing places. Kind of experimenting with more architecture outside and being more comfortable with that. You can see at this point I'm also experimenting with changing the background color. Why black? Why not red? I thought I would have different background colors for different levels. And also starting to get dispensers. You can see sort of this is an early attempt. There's a bit of a film grain and trying to play with lighting some more. You can see I'm also adding different textures to this. So, right, trying to add lighting, trying to get a feel. It was like once I felt that communicating information about the mechanics to the player was sufficient, I gave myself room to start experimenting. Again, these are apartments. They're also not in the game just because, like I said, some ideas from these have translated into the game, but very different because a lot of these I was looking at real-world architecture, and instead of molding things to fit with the mechanics, I just kind of shoved them in there, and they just did not work well. Early attempt at a tree. I think this tree was implemented mainly not as there was no gameplay mechanic based on it. It was simply because I was trying to create this like urban city setting. So kind of random trees being placed around in this like apartment. I had this like city block level, and it just had apartments and trees. Because that's what makes a city. What's interesting here is that you can see the leaves of the tree don't cast a shadow. But eventually what I did, I made the background white. And the reason for that was I wanted light coming in, and it didn't make sense to have the outside be black and have this really strong light in. So like you had to have it be white. So that sort of led to that. So you know, we're starting to let players go outside, playing with bodies of water. And you can see at this phase, I'm also starting to kind of experiment with the different post-processing effects. So here, for example, there's ambient occlusion in the grid. Here I have ambient occlusion, grid, and edge detection. This was just the Unity default edge detection, which looks really bad. Here is ambient occlusion and edge detection, but no grid. This was trying out a wood texture pattern. Looks awful. And also playing with waterfall. The mechanic for water did evolve over time. Early on, I thought it was sort of... I was looking at mist as an inspiration. Mist image. So, and I was thinking it would be, you know, you'd be using water to turn on giant machinery. Ha! That's a funny, I didn't actually notice that, the wood texture callback. Right, so one thing that was very interesting was when I started to add these windows, mainly as a way of providing a reason for the light source. Because I had added, players wanted to have boxes to, when you're moving these boxes, players wanted shadows. So I added shadows. Yes, that's... Okay, Crapner, thanks for stopping by. Really glad that you were able to join us today. So I added shadows and people were wondering where is the light source coming from. And you know what, I should, actually, this just reminds me. I wanted to, at this point, I think I could really do with some additional images. So where is this shadow? Ah, right here. Right, it's because players wanted shadows to see where boxes were going to land. And you can see I wanted to show an image of right. So what I did was then I provided these right. So players wanted shadows to see where the box was going to land. And I just had this light source, and players were like, where's the light coming from? So I added windows to explain the light. And as a result of the windows, players were able to kind of see the outside area, and immediately that just looked really interesting. So this had a really interesting effect because you could see, so this was not intentional. It was just because I built all the room puzzles in the same scene, but you were able to see into other puzzles and the outside area, and everybody wanted to go outside. Yep, Matthew Vandevender. In summation, making games is where you set out with no real plan and just keep banging at it until it comes into some kind of shape that's not terrible. I mean, you do sort of have a plan. You have a general direction. So I started letting players go outside. You can see this is kind of... I think you can kind of see how the game... It's sort of interesting looking at this as like the seed of an idea for what would it become, because it's like attempting to kind of capture that brutalist architecture. Oh, you know what? I should have architecture. So focusing on the outside areas. Now, this had the problem, of course, where players could fall off. And at this time, I think I was just had it so that when you fell off, the screen would fade to black, and it would respawn you kind of near where you fell off from. And so this is, at this point, I thought the game looked really, really good to me. I thought, like, I remember taking the screenshot and thinking, I was like, oh, this game looks really cool. And I went to GDC 2014, and basically, so I showed the game to a bunch of people, and basically all the feedback that I got was that the game, the mechanics were interesting, but the game needed work. So the mechanics were interesting, but the art style needed work. And I remember I showed this to Justin Ma, who worked on FTL, and I showed it to Rami, and they were just like, yeah, the art style needs work. It looks like a really generic first-person puzzle game, and it just doesn't stand out. And hey, Steve Swink! And this was funny, too, because I remember the very, very first... Oh, man. I wonder if I have... I wonder if I saved it. I should if I do save it. I remember the very first press I ever got on the game, Chris Priestman, who has since written about the game for Killscreen, and is a big supporter. I remember the very first was that website Indie Static. It's not even around anymore, but they did like a roundup of Screenshot Saturday. and it was like, I think it said something along the lines of, it said, even though it looks like a generic first-person puzzle game, it had enough, it caught my interest enough, or something. So this is these are the screenshots I showed Rami. The fall speed was really short. So I should save more of these. Wish I had that. Let me see if I can. It's kind of cool because you can actually see it change if you want to read this thing. That might have been earlier. Let me see. Okay, because I can't find it here. Oh, whatever. Alright, forget it. So yeah, everybody was like, you need to work on the art style. Josh killed, yeah. So anyway, but yeah, so Chris has been writing for Killscreen, and I think Chris is doing really well. And it was just funny because I remember he said it was generic, and it was. And I think it might have been like, I think it was this screenshot that caught his attention. I think it was this one. Oh man, I wish I kept it. This is why I always take screenshots of Twitter, of tweets I like. Yeah, no, the purple one. I remember Rami liked this one, but he didn't like he liked that one, and then he didn't like. Which one did he not like? Yeah. I'm trying to figure out which. I think it was. Might have been this one or something, but too many screenshots here. Anyway, whatever. He was right. Some of them looked really bad. But anyway, so after GDC, I decided what I would do is I would take time and really focus, really figure out the art style. So I came across this image, and this was like a shader that this guy had written that to kind of get like an architecture rendering. Ah, yeah, you can see this. Well, no, this is a little early on. That's a little later, but so architecture was kind of becoming a more and more important element, and so I thought it was fitting to have the art style be representative of that. And so what I did was I took that image and I added this, where I colored the floor surface so that it was blue, like what. And I thought, it would be great if the game would look like this. The problem eventually I found is that these this noise pattern, because every frame is being redrawn at real time, it ends up actually really distracting because that pattern is constantly moving. But you can see this is my first attempt at that, and I wasn't quite convinced at this point. Kind of these indoor screenshots, I was like, okay, that looks kind of interesting. And it wasn't until I got outside that it felt really cool. And I think that was getting the background color to look right. So at this point, I took the game to PAX East, and I remember showing this to Alexander Bruce, made Antichamber, and he said to me, "The sky is too blank, right? The sky is too blank." And he's like, "This looks cool," and I remember one thing Alex did was he took the screen. If you imagine, I showed it to him on my computer. Let's say this is my computer, and he was like this, looking at screenshots. He actually like took out his phone and took a picture, and then zoomed in to be like, how many pixels thick is that? And I was like, shit, he's very detail oriented. And you can see a lot of these artifacts around here. But anyway, so the sky was too blank, and I had just, and he had suggested putting stuff in the distance that you just couldn't get to, that would move every time you change gravity. So I just played BioShock Infinite, and it had a beautiful world, but was incredibly frustrating for me as a player because there were so many invisible colliders. It was like, you can't get to that, you can't get to that, you can't get to that. It's all background. Whereas, like when you play Skyrim, I think all of these mountains you can get to, right? And that was just such a magical feeling for me. And I was like, okay, I don't want invisible colliders. So, you know, kind of these were some early attempts at experimenting with a skybox, which just looked terrible. And then it occurred to me that if I had the world wrap around on itself, then I can have stuff in the sky that you can still get to without creating new content. And I would not have to have invisible colliders. So it was like everything you can see, you can still get to. And I can keep that rule. So it was like, so a lot of, and I bring this up because it's funny. It's not like, I know that the ending of Antichamber has this mechanic as well, but it wasn't like I was playing Antichamber and got the idea, but it did come from a conversation with Alex. So talk to Alex. Oh, okay, so this is come on. Oh, well, I wanted the quote. That's okay because I wanted the quote. This is the quote. Thank you, Matthew. This is so funny. So I wrote this. This is like, okay, he took down the link, which sucks, but despite Relativities looking like a bunch of other first-person puzzle games due to its focus on colored cubes, square rooms, and predominantly great white palette, it's interesting enough to garner my attention. How funny is that? Um, uh, um, oh man, that's awesome. Thank you. Um, right, Potato. I will talk about the Antichamber issue later on. Nope, not archived. Okay, so anyway, so this kind of early stuff I was kind of experimenting. So these are like, this is the very first screenshot I took with the world wrapping. You can see this is like, I just like merged a bunch of parts of the world together and then like copied it around. And you can see here I'm still trying to figure out the right distance. And like this was just too much, like figuring out how far away the instance should be. Like again here, I remember thinking this looked too much like a wallpaper and I didn't like that. Same here, I wasn't like totally convinced, but then when I got it spread out and I just saw a bit of this, I was like, okay, this looks cool. And I think this was where I started to feel like the game, like I remember taking this screenshot and it feeling like with the color palette, with the world wrapping, this started to feel solid. Yeah, the article is that, but this goes a little bit more in depth. So again, we're starting to focus on more outdoor areas. And so one of the things I want to talk about is, oh, I actually am missing my, this guy is too blank. This looks like antechamber. So this is sort of something that's that has kind of come up again, and I know every time Manifold Grind is posted, people talk about antechamber, and I've been getting this for a really long time. In fact, I actually got this even before I had the edge detection. And I think that's just like there's not a lot of minimalist abstract puzzle games. It's like name a minimalist abstract name an abstract puzzle game, and I can only think of Antechamber. Well, Starseed Pilgrim, but that's very different. So this is something that comes up quite a. Hey, can't find my way home. Hello. And so I remember looking at this. And I was trying to figure out, okay, what can I do to differentiate the game? So there's a number of things. One is that it's got the white background, the palette. It's all primary colors, right? So this is just like blue. Like this is just like 255 on the blue, and then green and red are 0. And I think this is just green. Oh, Echochrome. That's a good one. Okay. Echochrome. Fract is not... Is Fract abstract? Try's too small. Like, okay, Echochrome and Antechamber. Yeah. So, right, and it's got, what happened was somebody sent me this screenshot, this image, which is a piece by architect Livius Woods. And if you notice this, like, the density of the lines makes it not antechamber-ish. English Country Tune, that's also a good one. Okay, well, we got 5, so, but still, it's not that many. And so one of the things that I experimented with was having this kind of density. So all of a sudden, and one thing I noticed about this was that even with just this cube, it started to look not quite as much perspective. Okay, it's abstract, yes. Perception? Perspective, no, yeah. Right, and so I decided to try to capture that feeling, the Livius Woods work, with kind of just... So instead of even trying to make puzzles, I just made a bunch of weird shapes and tried to get, like, make it really dense. Unfinished Fawn is also a good one. Yeah, I think that's actually from the original Fract, the student project. So, like, I noticed the density, this stuff started to make it less antechamber-like. It was like, okay, I was like, okay, I'm in that right direction. And at this point, I'm also kind of experimenting with these windows and noticing that the shadows. So there's 2 things that Antechamber didn't have, was density of lines, outdoor areas, no density of lines, outdoor areas, and shadows. So those were the things that Antechamber did not have, and so I was like, I am going to focus on those. And then in terms of the windows, you know, a lot of the inspiration comes from architect Frank Lloyd, right? So you can kind of see this stuff, and that's where I try to capture it in here. So, you know, we got these window patterns, the shadows, the outdoor area, and I think this starts to get a little bit different. Still not quite there yet. And so going with stronger shadows after Indicate. This stuff. And then I remember, so I was at Indicate and I went around, I just like, that whole weekend I just went around to everyone and I showed them a screenshot of my game, which is this. I'd show them this and I'd be like, how can I make this look different? Yeah, there's like the time lapse. But it doesn't kind of talk about the reason. Like here, I want to explain the thinking behind it. And Russell Honor, who is one of the Arcane kids, he said to me, screen space gradient. And if you notice, and he brought up Vane as an example, and if you look at Vane, it's just blue to red. Like, look at that. It's all screen space gradient, blue to red. And so I did red to blue. But all of a sudden, that started to make this look very different. So if we look at this and compare this once again to Antechamber, it now has a very, very different feel. Right, so we kind of got the Frank Lloyd Wright elements in, the shadows, the architecture, emphasis on the outside, density of the lines. Sort of in early 2015, I kind of had a phase where I would just kind of go wild and experiment with a bunch of different things. And I think in 2015, mid 2015, that's when I really felt like the art cell was finally starting to come together. I was starting to focus more on the outdoor architectural areas. You can see here again. I think this is where, if we compare it to this, which I think is a very typical Antechamber screenshot. I think this is starting to have its own feel to it. So we go to now, and this is kind of where the game is. A lot of that has been refined. The edges have been cleaned up. We have the shadows, we've got the architecture, we've got the window patterns, focusing on the outside areas. Focusing on density of lines. So yeah, this is where, you know, well, in the slideshow, I think it would do that to kind of summarize. So that is kind of the evolution of the talk of the art style. I think that came into about an hour. We want to make a few tweaks, so we might as well do that on the stream here. But yeah, let me guys know what you think. I know that that's a bit rough. I will be rehearsing this a few times. I am still kind of trying to get all the footage right. But yeah, what do you guys think? Is there any part that you would like me to address that I didn't? By the way, if you're enjoying the stream, you should definitely follow the channel. If you like it, and if you're new, feel free to introduce yourself and tell us about this. Is this 2001? The initial idea for the game? Oh, well, so that was from Inception. I think that was at the beginning of the talk. I talked about Inception and MC Escher. Oh, you know what? I should have more MC Escher. Mr. Potatu, thank you for the follow. These are more sort of as examples of his work. So that's actually that level cubic space division. I'm sure where I got this level from. MC Ashir. Oh yeah, yeah. It's that the GD you became an I didn't really talk about the installation artist just because that's sort of it's almost like a very I should have a picture of Escher too. It's a dark chapter in my life, except for the balloons, which were very colorful. We are nearing it. We're near that stage. Hopefully within the next 10 months. Planet Alpha. What is this? This looks really cool. It looks beautiful. You know what? I really think they should not use this. And we are going to change the description of the game. This looks really cool. This looks beautiful. Oh, this looks really good. You explained the influence from architecture, but you kind of went fast on it, so I'm curious how the influence was applied and how. Oh, right, brutalism. And so a lot of that is... So, like Undo works well and brutalism works well because of kind of having that larger structure and shape. The issue was that I don't have textures in the game, so that's kind of missing a lot of those elements, which kind of show you that, which provide a sense of scale. So I think Nason Say is like a really good game that has a really great sense of scale. But that's got, and so what works well there is he has like very different, he has like smaller elements as well. But I couldn't have these like gribbles because you can walk on anywhere. But Frank Lloyd Wright, because of the way he has these elevation and the patterns in the window, end up sorting that out. So a lot of it is the way they kind of open up spaces, moving away from just having rooms that are boxes. So that's, yeah, it's kind of a mix. Like in terms of aesthetics, it's a mix of brutalism, Tadao Ando, and Frank Lloyd Wright. Yeah, so like brutalism and American Prairie. But also now I've gone more into like the way they approach designing spaces. Well, all right. Sorry, it's hard to talk and look for this stuff at the same time. Okay, Steve, thank you for stopping by and good luck with your stream. Yes, I should mention, that's right, Blame, and yeah, you are absolutely right. That is absolutely right. What's so cool about Blame is captured that same feeling I was talking about with Skyrim, where you can go somewhere in the distance because you'll be here, and then later the next scene you'll actually be here, and you can see something like this in the distance. It's really amazing. Highly recommend you guys check this out, by the way. Line 1. Say that is absolutely right. I love this game. God, it's so fucking beautiful. Like, it's one of the first games that really captures a sense of scale. Okay, so should I have Indie Game the movie? I want a picture of John. Yeah, I should also need to be doing this, but I'm just kind of throwing brutalism buildings around. Like, you can see, yeah, this was like a lot of stuff was a really big influence early on. Is this a real building? Wow. Oh yeah, I remember. Very interesting stream right now. Yeah, Edgar, have you played Indie Game the movie? I mean, not Indie Game, have you played Nason Say? Oh, I forgot to list the game name here, Portal. And graveyard. Tale of Tales. Here we go. Image is pretty big. Why is this? What's John doing here? Designing puzzles. I think John would prefer me to use that one. He probably would not want a picture of me, of him, in my talk. Where's my flower picture? Oh, is that the dog? Oh yeah, I've met that dog. I've been to the office. Where best John Blow photo? Alright, major idea. I will see you around. Not because the stream got boring as hell. It's okay if you leave because it's boring. I don't I mean, I am just like making a PowerPoint slide, which is not the most exciting activity. But yes, let's talk about Media's Woods. Let's talk about Blame. I think that would kind of fit in here very well. The other, yep, right here, this would be perfect. So it's just Blame. Yeah. Highly recommend I don't know if I've read Blame like 4 times and I still don't understand the story. It also spans like 2,000 years. But it really is incredible. I know it's a huge influence on, like, Naisance is almost actually Blame the video game without kind of the characters in it, but it captures the feeling, the architecture feeling so well. Cairo's also another game that's influenced by Blame, and Naisance. I like that they placed the dog on the... Wait, the dog is on the island in The Witness? Oh, is the dog... Oh, the statue? Yes, you know, I didn't realize. Of course it is. Link. Wait, Edgar, we've met, right? You're Urshi's friend. We met at GDC? Blame. I don't know if it's, I'll link to the Wikipedia article because I don't, it can be really hard to find. Where did I talk about brutalism? Oh yeah, you know what? Where we started talking about the outdoor architecture. I always feel bad when I just kind of throw brutalism in there because there's sort of really interesting history and context. But often people are just like there's that Tumblr fuck yeah brutalism, and but it would, actually just take me way too long in this talk to try to capture that. Alright, what was my other note? I got the, oh, pictures of installation. Ah, right, I got the early, let me get the other. Okay. Alright, so screenshot of Mist, images, realism, architecture. So I think that's pretty much it. I think that's a really solid description, and everything I talk about I link to. So yeah, that is the evolution of the art style. Oh, right. I wanted to include some more. This is sort of early attempts at Escher's work. I don't even, with these, I don't even bother trying to make my slides look good. Is that, do I have to capitalize the E? No. Oops, not that. I need a new slide. Insert picture. Escher 2. Okay, I think that's pretty much it. It covers everything. So, anyway, as always, thank you guys for hanging out today on the stream and for bearing with me as I went through this dry run. And all that feedback was really, really helpful. You know, as always, if you have other questions, feel free to let me know. I wonder if I should include a picture of a gradient. I don't like this picture. I don't know why I'm looking this up when I can literally just make one in Photoshop in like 2 seconds. And I'm doing it because I am lazy. old paper look of MG graphics? What is the old paper look? Yeah, I was like, okay. It's because I've been having problems with, So my computer's been freezing, like all of a sudden the mouse would just stop working, and I don't know like which software it is. I know, I just kind of been like, I need to just take over my computer and try to screen space, one word or two words? I guess. Just want to make sure I spell his name right. This is the best piece of game development advice I ever got. Okay, Edgar, I will see you around. And I think that's pretty much it. Pergamino? Hey, JS Bree. Okay, guys, well, I'm going to wrap up the stream now, and I will see you guys on next week. I think I get back on Monday, and I'll probably stream on Tuesday. Maybe just like a quick report on the trip. But anyway, it's been a lot of fun. And Calv00, thank you for the follow. All right, bye, everyone.